Hi and welcome to the video. I'm Dame and this is Dame Over, and in today's video we'll be looking at the latest news on the soon to drop January patch. This includes lots of changes to how the weapons work and a lot of other tweaks too. I'll go through class by class what is different about each type of weapon so you guys have the most up-to-date information. This is so far the biggest patch and the biggest overhaul to the game as a whole that has come out since Battlefield 1's first release. So let's have a look at what DICE have in store for us. If you guys find this video useful or entertaining, make sure you hit that like button before you go. So let's get to it. Today I'll just be focusing on the weapons, as that's the most important aspect I feel of what's going to happen after the January patch. So if you want to find out more information about the new content and other tweaks that have been made to the game, let me know and I'll put another video out about that. As you'd expect, this video is a little bit longer than my usual ones because I want to go in as much detail as I can about these changes, as there are a hell of a lot of them. The biggest and most important part of it though is the redesign to weapon balance. This redesign will mostly affect medic rifles, SMGs, LMGs and shotguns, with scout rifles being mostly untouched. The point of it is to try and close the gap between the weapons so there isn't an out and out meta. There'll also be a much bigger advantage to using a weapon in its intended range of effectiveness, which will stop people from defaulting to the clear winners of each category of weapon, as they'll all become a bit more effective to use. On the whole, there's also going to be an increased efficiency against multiple opponents, and generally every weapon will be more powerful. So to kick things off, we'll start looking at shotguns. It's the shell and pellet design that is being changed, and it's essentially being completely redesigned. So instead of having a random spread of pellets within a cone of fire, there'll now be a system that works within segments. This is a little tricky to understand, so bear with me here. Each shotgun shell will fire 12 pellets each, and that will all be contained within its own segment within the cone of fire. This means that the pellets are evenly spread within the cone, so there's no crossing over, and it will eliminate the strange late damage glitch that I talked about in my Are Shotguns Broken video last week. It will also help to get rid of the strange kills you get at long range and those you completely miss at close range because the pellets haven't landed in the intended way. On top of this, each shotgun is going to have a different damage value for its pellets, so there'll be a definite difference between how they'll feel within each archetype. Now on to submachine guns. And the most important change for all of the SMGs is that they will all have, with the exception of the Automatico, a 4 bullet to kill being applied to them within 12 meters. This will do a couple of things. First of all, it means they're going to be far more competitive against shotguns at very close quarters, and there's also the intention of reducing the amount of grenades being thrown in close quarters, as the time to kill should be a little bit quicker. Another thing that DICE are hoping for is that needing less rounds to kill will make the other SMGs that aren't the Hellriegel, which is obviously extremely popular at the moment, far more of an attractive proposition, as needing a large magazine won't be as necessary anymore. At long range, the SMG's bullets to kill is also being reduced by 1, the idea being that the recoil and spread should still limit it to close and medium range, but if you're using something like the Ribot Rolls, using the Bipod, you'll still be able to hit people from long range in the right situation. To balance that, there is an increase to vertical recoil on all SMGs, which should help to limit them to short and medium range engagements, as they'll be much harder to use at long range. With all the Storm variants of the SMGs, which includes the Hellriegel factory because it uses the same modifiers as the Storm variants, there will be a slight reduction to this vertical recoil, which means you'll be able to extend a little bit further than the non-Storm variants, but it's still giving the LMGs the clear advantage in longer range battles. Now on to medic rifles, and these are all receiving buffs to accuracy and damage at range. The base accuracy for medic rifles is being increased to help with more consistent and predictable shooting at further distances, which will help in fights against the scout class. There'll also be a reduction in spread per shot, which means less time to recover from every shot, and also meaning you can fire at the full rate of fire for longer before the spread becomes too hard to control. This means that the medic rifles that fire very quickly, like the M1907 Sweeper, the 8.25 auto-loading, and the Fedorov will all benefit from this patch most, as you'll be using them at the full fire rate more often than the other medic rifles. Damage drop-off is also getting a buff for every single rifle, which means that the medium range specialists within the medic class will have a far better chance of competing outside their intended range, as the time to kill will be reduced. Next, we'll move on to light machine guns, and they seem to be getting the most significant overhaul of all the weapons in the January patch. They're getting some really big buffs on the whole, which should make them far more competitive at mid-range. The most notable of these is that at all ranges, LMGs will require one less bullet to kill, which means that they'll be the quickest time to kill weapons in the game, aside from one-hit weapons like a shotgun or a sniper rifle. To balance this, all the LMGs will have a slight increase to vertical recoil, and the reduction the Storm variants give to this is also being reduced. On top of this, the ADS time has been increased to give them the sense of being heavier than submachine guns, and to further this feeling, the recoil increase and increase to accuracy recovery time you get if you fire before you aim down sight, that has also been made more significant. This will most likely mean that when playing as a support player, you need to plan your fights a bit better and be set up in a defensible position before you start shooting, as aiming down the sight will give you a big advantage over running in and firing from the hip first. The LMGs that needed 7 bullets to kill at long range will have this reduced by 2, and to balance this out for the slow firing LMGs like the Perino, the Shalshat and the Lewis gun, they'll get a slight recoil increase as well. Another very significant change is how bipods behave. They will no longer reduce horizontal spread as much as they used to on the whole, but will completely eliminate first shot spread, which means the slower firing, heavier LMGs will benefit from this most, as the initial spread increase is generally higher, and it will reduce the efficiency of the bipod for faster firing LMGs, as the horizontal recoil is much more significant. This will hopefully add a bit more variation between each of the LMGs, as at the moment they all feel a bit too similar, with a couple of exceptions in the Parabellum and the BAR. So that is the latest news on how the weapons will be affected in Battlefield 1 after the next big update at some point in January. There hasn't been an official date released, but it's suggested that it's going to happen in the last Tuesday of January 2018, which means a possible release on the 30th. As I mentioned before, there are lots of other tweaks and glitches and bug fixes and stuff like that that I've obviously missed off. If you guys want to know more about that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll start putting together a video with all of that information in there as well. And I have to say, I'm actually very excited for this January patch. It might as well be called Battlefield 1 2.0. It's such a big overhaul to how the weapons work in the game, and hopefully the meta won't be so apparent. What do you guys make of these patches, and have you heard any more news about when it might drop or the content that will be involved? Make sure you let me know down in the comments below. So if you've had a good time, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button too. Feel free to share this video with whoever and wherever you like. And until next time, that's Dame over. Peace.